Okay, so hello everyone, and thank you all for coming to this momentous event, the writings of 21st century. I will be the first speaker today as Dr. Zhang Xina from the Feishanghao University of China. I would like to thank you, the Quandel Group LLC, for having me as the first speaker today for their program, the 9 plus 10 initiative. So, on to my presentation. Okay, so our first presentation is the writings of the future, the the 21st century humor, a research by myself among the internet culture of humor. So, firstly, what is 21st century humor? 21st century humor is a video comprised of multiple other videos and images layering each other simultaneously and is put together pretty much haphazardly with no coherence, with no specific intents or purpose other than to tell a joke with a very fast rapid fire pace with no breathing room for the viewer with each video that was layered on top of each other. The purpose of these 21st century humor videos is to be funny and to highlight the state of internet humor, of what has become of internet humor. The 21st century humor itself, it doesn't build upon itself, but rather it derives itself from previous type of videos similar in similar vein or similar type called Arab funny, YouTube poops, and I funny poops. Although in similar fashion, 21st century humor is very much shorter in comparison compared to YouTube poops, which usually 5 minutes to 10 minutes long, whereas 21st century humor is 1 minute or less each video. So it's very dense and packed with other videos and other images later on each other in 1 minute or less. So 21st century humor has its own structure and characteristics. As with every type of category, 21st century humor is a category of video, meaning it has its own structure and its own characteristics that it needs to fulfill before it can be considered a 21st century humor video. So 21st century humor is usually a background video with images, moving images, red arrows, red circles flying on top of each other in one video in less than 1 minute, densely packed with other types of videos with loud voices, loud music, and loud sound effects. That is 21st century humor video. It is not very coherent, and if you actually take out every single video and play it back to back without it layering on top of each other, it would be at the very least 5 to 10 minutes. Maybe it would even hit half an hour to play each video that was packed in those 1 minute video individually. So now we're getting to its writing, despite it being very random, very haphazard, random, rapid fire with no coherence whatsoever. There is actually lower and writing made not by the video authors themselves, but rather the community behind these videos. So there's actually a story here. There's actually lore. There's actually writing, and this writing, they don't start with the intention of making a story, but the community made up the story with their own interpretation, and thus the next installment of each video contains a little tidbit of story to rep- to like reference previous videos. So, and the best example of this lore and writing in 21st century humor is the Quandale Dingle saga, where it's actually have a main character called a man called Quandale Dingle, a backstory of which he was abused by his mother and his father left him when he was little, a climax in which Quantico went into prison and tries to escape the authority, and an ending where Quandale Dingle finally escaped authority and is trying to take over the world. And and here's the thing for the concept of 21st century humor. The name itself implies that this 21st century humor came from the future, from current times. However, as I said before, 21st century humor has a very similar build structure and characteristics as videos as internet humor from before, particularly Arab funny and YouTube poops or YTPs. This Arab funny and YouTube poops is very popular at the late 2000s and the early 2010s, especially for 2011 until 2013 for YouTube poops and Arab funny. And here is the comparison just from the image in on the screen. You can see the comparison and their similarities. They use red circles, red arrows, images just layering on top of each other, and all seems very random. The, this tells us that this type of humor has been here before. This random rapid fire pace humor has been here just now, and in the 21st century humor it's more densely packed rather than YouTube poops or Arab funny. And lastly, we finally come to the conclusion of what is 21st century humor and what will be what is next from 21st century humor. Where do we build from here with internet humor? So to summarize, 21st century humor is basically every internet humor that has been on the internet since the inception of the internet itself. It derives from what is called slapstick comedy, which is popular in the 1900s, particularly 1940s and 1950s, where instead of the writing, the humor comes from the audio and the visual. A good example of slapstick comedy is Tom and Jerry with just sound effect. There's no writing. It's not that there is no writing. It's that there is no told jokes. It's everything is visual. Everything is derived from violence rather than cleverness, because violence is very easy to tell visually and auditorily with hitting sound effects, with slapping sound effect and stuff off from the similar vein. 21st century stuff was built from another colossus, from another big type of internet humor called dank memes, but we will get into that in this in from this first presentation. The next presentation we will discuss about dank memes by Professor Walk. Combined, the 21st century is also is from dank memes combined with the format of YouTube poops or YDPs. And the basis for the rapid fire edits is that it's from the perception, from the stereotype of our next generation, where younger people cannot hold very much attention for a joke to end. So another joke has to start before the previous joke has even finished, just to keep them just to keep them on the video, just to keep them paying attention, because they have very such short attention span. This is how the 21st century humor was born. 21st century humor also give opportunity for the rise of comedic sound effects that has been previously missing, particularly after 2016 until 2018, because it is deemed annoying and unfunny. However, the usage of these comedic sound effects rather than a well-placed punchline to help the humor of the punchline, it is very much used everywhere in the video. So with the reborn of the comedic sound effects, its usage has also changed to fit the 21st century humor. And for this, I thank you for your attention for my presentation, and I will give the next presentation to Professor Wok the from the same university. And I would also like to thank you again for the Quandale Group LLC for having me on this wonderful event. Thank you very much.